Right, well, we are going to move on and play Hit Miss Maybe. And we have been joined thus far by Alon. We are possibly going to be joined by Pete, but it's possible that it's just not got through to Australia yet. We shall see what comes of it. But if you are staying tuned to the podcast, you're going to get to hear two of the Hit Miss Maybes. If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll get to hear all four. So go and check out the YouTube channel, A Blog to Watch weekly live, if you're interested in hearing more Hit Miss Maybe. But before we begin, let's establish who we do have are and what they're currently wearing on their wrists. So Ripley, where are you just now and what are you wearing?
I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm wearing the Garmin, Vivio Active 5. We've got a review of this on A Blog to Watch.
Great stuff. David, drum roll. Is he not? Is he wearing a watch? He's wearing a watch for the first time. What's he wearing?
It's not the first time. I've actually shown this watch a month or two ago. It's the Vulcan Cricket. I love this. Great size, good functionality. I might have it buzz in like 10 minutes or so, just to annoy everybody. Let's see.
Yes. I think last time you had it, you didn't have it on. I think you were still resisting wearing it. There we go. That's just what that's just woken everybody up, disturbed everybody. Cat's gone running across the room, whatever.
It's the President's watch.
Yeah, it is President's watch. Yeah. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything about. Well, no. I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to hit that thing in terms of presidents. But anyway, right, Ariel. Where are you?
I'm wearing my Zodiac Aquamarine Dream that I designed with them. I was wearing it today. I was like picking this watch up.
Cool. Good stuff. Alon, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Where are you? What are you wearing this morning?
I'm wearing my Space One in forged carbon that arrived last week.
Cool.
I did not join you guys on HMM, but had the joy of seeing you, Rick, in the flesh in Amsterdam.
We have
a great reunion, and I had Ariel on the Zoom, so I had a Blog to Watch weekly offline.
A reunion tour. So yes, it was very good. I got to spend some time with Alon in Amsterdam and get the tour, which was much appreciated. So yeah, go and check out all. I really enjoyed Amsterdam. Amsterdam was nice.
It was great to see you. You're even nicer in the flesh. Ripley, where can I order the wallpaper?
I need to get it together. I need to contact the suppliers. We'll add it to the Blog to Watch shop there. Yeah, it can go alongside. You can grab your tees. You can grab the wallpaper.
So we're going to be selling stone paneling?
Yes.
Okay.
We can also have meteorite. We can do meteorite. We can do patinaed bronze. I will patina it myself. Yeah, I will patina it myself. I will sweat on it for you or whatever, I don't know how
Home decor, I agree. This is the business we should get into. Let's all become interior
designers. I want
designers.
the tagline, Cali dreaming on it.
Ariel's always wanted to pivot A Blog to Watch to chair manufacturer as a big chair collector. So this is you helping to fulfill his dream.
I would love to review chairs all day. Wouldn't that be great, guys?
Yeah. I tell you what. See, next week, Ariel, we'll do a hit miss maybe on the chairs we're sitting on for doing this show. So. Because Ripley's got a nice chair. I've got a nice chair. So Ariel, you need to get a decent chair into your office, and we can put hit miss maybe on the chair you're sitting in. Right, Pete will be along in a second, so let's get started in the hope that he will join us. First up, an article that Ripley wrote. This is the Fossil Sport Tourer Chronograph. Let me share the screen for those watching. Sport Tourer Chronograph. There we go. You can see it in all its magnificent yellow. Ripley, tell us a little bit about this watch.
So it's, I used to work for Fossil way back when I was in college, and it was a very different brand than what they're kind of pivoting towards. This is kind of represents a new sort of direction for the brand's catalog, and it is quite a lot better than a lot of what they've historically put out. So it's Mecha Quartz Chrono, which they don't really advertise, but it is a mecha quartz movement in there. And the cool thing about it is you get a tachymeter, it's nice, whatever, but it's actually got a proper 12-hour totalizer on it. So that's nice. Proportions are pretty solid. It's under $200, so it's pretty solid value. And kind of the interesting part for this isn't necessarily the watch I think an enthusiast is going to be reaching for all the time necessarily, but this is a lot of people's kind of first gateway to the world of watches. The number of people who got one of these in high school, wore it throughout college, into their first jobs in the real world, and ultimately upgraded to something nicer, more luxury oriented. Fossil's sort of a lot of first people's contact with like a nicer, above like a basic drugstore kind of like bottom dollar Casio or Timex. It's like the first nice they might have been given watch they got for a birthday. So I think it kind of holds this interesting important place within the industry. So it's affordable mecha quartz racing chronograph, and it doesn't have a gendered human name like their old brands products like Grant or Decker or those, which always seemed a bit weird.
Yes. Good stuff for it. Well, let's judge it. So hit, miss, maybe on the Fossil Sport Tourer Chronograph watch. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, it is so far a hit. Pete has joined us. What does Pete think? Is he going to ruin it? He's a maybe. Pete ruined it. Pete, go away. You ruined a perfect score. You should have joined us after we reviewed it. David, tell us why it's a hit.
I greatly respect the effort that these brands go and dedicate to create an affordable watch that looks great. This is typically the kind of watch I can imagine getting while in high school, bonding with it, wearing it everywhere, being obsessed by, like the applied numerals, the chronograph function, the cool bezel, all of it. I think it's a very likable watch, and at under $200, you won't be breaking the bank either. I'm not, there are some cheaper details, like the way the straps just don't fit at all. And some of them are a bit squished and stuff. The hands are cheap. The loom is blotchy, but it's under $200.
Other than that, it's perfect.
It's not like a really genuinely highly specified thing, and yet it's very likable. So that's why it's a hit for me.
You can't sing, you can't dance. You'll go a long way. Right, Ariel, why did you vote this a hit?
I think it's clear that for a lot of us, this is not a watch that's as high on our radar to wear because we're watch enthusiasts, but we can appreciate it and recommend it. The first thing I'll say about this is, I know a little bit about the background of it, and as much, if not more effort was put into this watch than a lot of the much more expensive watches. So sometimes we tend to think of like a fashion watch being designed quickly and rushed and not really people thinking about the details. This is one of several models in this collection. They really all have a lot of love put into them. So even if this is your first watch, you're getting a very competent timepiece, and the bar is actually being set pretty high. It's relatively thin on the wrist. It's comfortable, it's legible. And, some of those details that David mentioned that seem, I don't want to call them off, but you need to look under a kind of enthusiast magnification, like just as a glance, like this is a very handsome timepiece, and it fits the mold, the enthusiast mold, if you will, even though it's a little bit more low end. So I think that this is an easy watch to recommend if you want sort of just a beater watch that you don't have to worry about. Easy choice. So it's hard not to see this and its cousin watches as being a hit.
Great stuff. So I voted a hit because it's just cool. It's cool price, looks cool. Why wouldn't it be a hit? Alone, what did you think?
I voted a hit, and it's a lot of bang for your buck. Below 200, it puts you in the swatch category. I love literally almost everything about it. I just don't understand why they put Japan movement underneath. That's maybe my only point of critique. I would nickname it the Bumblebee. I love the brushed tachymeter scale, so the insert of the bezel. The font of the date I like. It seems like they're raised numbers on the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've done a great job, and I highly recommend teens, tweens, collectors, whomever wants some popping colors on the wrist and are fed up with the Moon swatches and the Blancpain swatches. This is a great candidate.
Just out of curiosity, what's wrong with Japanese movement? I can't think of any bad Japanese movements, and the reason they put it so high on there is that's actually meant to be an exciting factor.
So
yeah.
good that you raised that, Ariel. So funny anecdote: I went to visit several G-Shock and Casio facilities in Japan, and with my ignorance and stupidity, I didn't understand why they were pushing made in Japan so hard. I'm like, guys, you're a Japanese brand. Why are you pushing it so hard? And on some models, I noticed it didn't. So I didn't, with my ignorance, know that the majority is produced in Thailand, Philippines, China. So they had tiers within Casio. Whereas, and this is arrogance and ignorance in Europe, where everything that doesn't come from Europe, right, is lesser quality or something like that. So why I mention it here, for this price point, does it sell more watches? I think it breaks the design because it's another line of text. Because on the right hand side, it's the date disc. It says already Fossil Chronograph, I think. So, and I say it because it's an American brand, and I know Fossil is. I don't think they produce anything in the US for that matter, but. I say it out of a design perspective because it draws attention where it doesn't need to, because it's a well-balanced design, in my humble opinion. That's why I said it. But I understand what they did out of commercial point. There's obviously nothing wrong with Mecha Quartz movements. They're amazing. And the price is amazing because if you think about it, the Furlan Maris have basically the same movement, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an amazing price point if they are at $500, $600, $700. I have a question for you guys on the America side of things. How is Fossil doing, by the way?
Well,
because
the old department store business has seen brighter days. I mean, look, Fossil is reinventing itself. This collection is part of that. They have a lot of great real estate footprint as it is. It's just that is shrunken. So I think that Fossil has had to fundamentally change what they're doing. But what they'll call the fashion watch market is actually surprisingly strong.
Because I'm actually happy with this pivot, because they went so hardcore on connected watches. It's interesting to see, and I'm happy that they.
And that's all done. That they're not making any more of that at all. None. Look, they've just decided that's not a good business for them. This is the problem. Watch companies hate the fact that they have to service something which they've already made. And with smartwatches, they have to continue to add software development, customer service, troubleshooting to people that purchased something years ago, and they're making no money on it. And so unless they're sort of fully in on the software side, companies do not want to incorporate that new expense because, again, it doesn't make them any extra money.
Yep. Now, Will is not here this week, so Pete, now is your chance to flip-flop and change your maybe to a hit.
I'll miss the flip-flopper, though.
Okay, I went maybe on this watch, not as a criticism of the watch. I think I agree with what everyone said. It looks really nice. It's good value. Interestingly, my concern is about the very place it is in the market. Someone said before, I think David said that it's far better than the Moonswatch. But I'd counter that by saying, but the Moonswatch is about the only watch that's successful at this point of the market, because it does something that so many of these other watches don't do. These watches, and this watch is very worthy. It's very nice. It's well made, good materials. It has little to no fun factor, cool factor, get me out of my chair and go somewhere and pay for this factor. And my concern isn't about the quality of the watch. It's that it just doesn't bring something special to get someone to not buy a smartwatch.
It's way less expensive than most smartwatches. It's an interesting observation for sure. No one Fossil is going to appeal to everyone, but I think the consensus is that it's a great watch, but maybe they need more hype and things like that. But this is new. This came out in the last few months. Let's trust that they'll put more oomph into it over time.
Yeah, and I think it also, we're comparing it against other watches, but I think it's also interesting to compare it to things that aren't just watches that people might enjoy on a fashion basis. $200 is like the pair of a nice pair of sneakers. That's a pair of Jordans or something like that. So like something that someone might pick up is like a, hey, that's cool. I like the colorway. It's pricey, but not extreme like a normal watch purchase. This is in that family where someone who's not a big watch enthusiast can basically pay the same thing they would on a good pair of sneakers and then have like this cool racing chronograph watch. And it delivers as far as the materials and specs. So I think it's also, yes, as far as watches, but Fossil's also a brand in Times Square. So I think it's that whole other demographic as well that's a little bit watch curious, but hasn't gone down the rabbit hole with us.
I certainly hope it succeeds, and I'm not going to call it a loser. I'm uncertain about this whole place in the market space.
Well, if you're watch curious, then perhaps that's the entry level for you. We're going to move on. So, hands-on debut, the Citizen Series 8 890 mechanical watch. I will share this on the screen for all those paying attention. Ariel, you wrote the article on this. Give us a quick resume.
So Citizen is now coming back with mechanical watches in a big way. They sort of reintroduced their mechanical watches a few years ago. Now they're trying to go a little bit more high end. I wouldn't say that these are anywhere close to Grand Seiko in terms of price point, but there's clearly a move for Citizen to chase a little bit of what Seiko has done with very high end or moderately higher end mechanical. This has a price point of around $1,500. You basically have their the Citizen branded version of the 9000 movement here. A lot of case detailing. So I think there's a lot of features here, a lot of bang for the buck. Really the area that people aren't really sure how to feel about is the design. For a mainstream audience, it's perfect because they're like, oh, it looks like those trendy watches out there. For us enthusiasts, we want a little bit more, I would say, design originality from Citizen because we know they're capable of it. But if you just look at the quality, the features, the movement and stuff like that, you can agree that there's a lot here that Citizen is offering compared to the alternatives. And I think this collection is only get stronger. So while we've been looking at Citizen for high-end quartz for a long time, I think that looking at it for good values and mechanical movements is something that the enthusiast community is going to start to do again quite quickly, actually.
Great stuff. Well, let's give it a judgment of hit miss maybe. 1, 2, 3, go. Maybes, maybe. Oh, is Pete going to be the odd man out again? Come on. Oh, come on, Pete. 5 maybes and Pete giving it a hit. So let's start with Pete then, seeing as I missed out and speaking to him last time. Pete, why is this a hit and why are we all wrong?
I was going to be a maybe right up until the end.
Until you saw us all voting maybe.
No. And then I actually scrunched it up and said, no, you know what? Back myself here. It all comes down to how well it's built in the hand. I think that it's the flip side of what I said about the previous watch. This is a hot genre, exactly as Ariel said. This is a type of watch that all the kids are buying and everyone's very excited about. And it's kind of in the zeitgeist right now. The question is, in the hand, when you're looking at it, does it feel like, more than $1,000 worth? And that's my maybe. That's my only concern. But Citizen generally make them pretty well, so I'm going to back them and say I reckon it's going to be okay.
Great stuff. Alon, what do you reckon?
Very, very interesting watch. I've actually seen it while it popped up on a Block to Watch, and it piqued my interest. I shook the Royal Oak vibe quickly. I love the pattern on the dial. Why it's a maybe for me, I don't think it needs the inner dive bezel. It breaks the design. I don't like the font of the numbers, the minute tracks, and the rest is done perfectly. And I don't like the crown for the turning bezel on the 2 o'clock position. So that made it a maybe for me. But kudos to Citizen for this push upwards. And it's interesting because Alpina is their sister company, and it reminisces a bit of the Alpine or Extreme, but total different watch. But very, very interesting. I love this design.
Ariel, did you concluded it was a maybe, having reviewed it?
I mean, it's really only a maybe for my personal wear. I really admire what they've done from a construction standpoint, and they will come out with ones that I think each of us here will be more excited about as enthusiasts. Remember, Citizen is a company that, while they attract enthusiasts, it's more of a mainstream brand. So they have to think about the mainstream audience first. So if somebody went to me and be like, "Hey, Ariel, what do you think about the Series 890?" Again, the name isn't great. I'd be like, yeah, it's a cool watch. If you'd like it, go for it. So it's easy to recommend, and I like what Citizen's doing there. But as someone who has like a ridiculous amount of dive watches and watches on bracelets, it doesn't sort of add anything else I have. But I know Citizen can do that. So it's like easy to recommend, but this is not the SKU for me, and probably not for other enthusiasts.
Ripley?
Yeah, for me, I mean, my own personal preferences regarding design not factoring into this. It's a maybe for me. I think it'll do well for them, but it's almost the lower price Citizens that make this one a hard sell for me. $1,500 puts it past the price of, like, it's almost like more than double the price of like a PRX, automatic. So it's kind of in a premium positioning once it's getting up there a little bit. A lot of watches have that 9000 series Miyota movement, and even within Citizen's own catalog, they have like full titanium divers with that movement for around $1,000. So it just seems a little bit like you're paying for the design, which shouldn't really be the case with Citizen. And I'm sure it's very well executed and everything. But it's not personally the design for me, and it also just feels a little bit expensive when you look at some of their other offerings that are in full titanium on a bracelet for less money. So, it's or their Eco Drive ones where it's a Bang & watch for like $400. So I think it's a little bit hard for me, but just because of the price, I think in a vacuum it's a pretty cool watch, even if it is a little bit Royal Oak offshore adjacent.
David, offshore adjacent?
Not really. I quite like this watch. 10 years, more than 10 years ago, I acquired a Citizen Grand Touring Sport, which was at the time $1,200. Adjusted for inflation, that would be $1,600, which is how much this one costs today. And I loved that watch. It was so intricate in the execution of its bracelet, of its dial, of its hands, indices, case, everything. That was a banging watch and a lot of watch for the money. This one, not so much. It feels like they took that watch and finished halfway through it. I like the dial texture and parts of it, but I know that Citizen can do way better for the exact same amount of money. So this is riding this trend of H-shaped link bracelet, and it's just like, let's make it like that and see how it goes. And again, I know Citizen can do way better than this, so that's why it's a maybe.
Well, I give it a maybe because I count 6 different fonts on the dial, and you're only allowed 3.
By law, by Rick's law.
By law, 3 at the most.
I'm 100% with you, Rick. 100%.
Extra points if you can reduce it to 1 font.
This is ridiculous.
I don't understand. Who sits there and goes, "Oh, well, let's open up the font catalog." It's just weird as to why you would do that. Why would
they found in a drawer from like 1968.
Yeah, probably. It's a weird one. It's weird. Why can't presumably they have like a Citizen font for everything. Why not just use the Citizen font?
Shockingly bad.
But it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Anyway, go and check out that Citizen at a blog to watch. You can give us your own thoughts. You can do your own hit miss maybe on the article. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the wee thumbs up, thumbs down, or the maybe. For those that are sticking with us on YouTube, you're going to get to enjoy talking about the Nodus or hit miss maybe on the Nodus Raven and on the Royal Oak as a classic hit miss maybe. For those who are staying on the podcast, we'll speak to you again shortly with our goodbyes. Okay, next up, the Nodus Raven. I'll get on screen for everybody. If you thought the last watch had Royal Oak offshore vibes, then there is no doubt, at least in my mind, as to what this has vibes of. Ripley, you handled this. Does it get away? Oh, you didn't handle it.
No, I did. No, I did handle it. That's my flannel and my
That's
wrist
your
and
wrist.
trousers.
Did you manage to escape the gravitational pull of Rolex Explorer 2 vibes?
So that's actually the one thing I like, that it is a kind of apes the Explorer 2 in concept. I say it in the article. We've got an impossibly wide assortment of dive watches. The Land Explorer concept watch, it seems like it would have a lot more people go hiking than scuba diving. The font on the bezel combined with the orange on the hand, it's just a little bit too overlappy for the Explorer 2 for my taste in that regard. But as a whole, I a lot of watches sort of do the same thing. But yeah, the font on the bezel is near almost a dead ringer. So, but it is, Miyota 9 series movement, proper GMT. The whole thing is DLC, a gray DLC, and then the bezel and dial are Cerakoted. So that's kind of an interesting effect. It doesn't quite match. It's kind of this green-gray sandy color.
And probably most importantly, it's $875, which is not too shabby. So let's give it a vote. Ariel has left the premises, so it's just the 5 of us left. So count of 3. 1, 2, 3 is hit miss maybe. Hit. Oh, some deviation. 3 hits, a miss and a maybe. Let's start with, well, Ripley, you give it a hit. Obviously, you enjoyed wearing it.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit further from the Explorer 2, because I really think this watch is good enough to stand on its own legs without that, being the affordable version of. That's my one biggest criticism. Everything else is done really, really well on it. Feels nice on the wrist. It feels like a 5-digit Explorer 2, so it's like just under 40 mil, nice and thin. But sapphire crystal. It's a well executed, good proportions, date window in the trapezoid there, nice lume. All in all, very compelling package for the price, especially when you look at kind of some of the other stuff that gets you in the industry. Again, my only gripe is like, if they just did a different color for the hand or a different font on the bezel, some of the Explorer 2 similarities would quickly evaporate. But I think all in all, I think it's a really compelling way to spend sub $900 on a GMT.
Yeah, I give it a hit. Anything that's under 40 mil that can convince me to buy it's definitely a hit, and this is certainly convincing me. David, what did you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a hit. I think it's perfectly far enough from the Explorer. Yes, the hand is reminiscent of that, but that's where it ends, for me at least. This has this 10-year-old Bamford vibes, when he used the tank paint spray on Rolex watches. It's basically exactly like that sort of vibe, but you pay a tenth of the price or less. I would love to have this as a beater for the summer. I mean, this is great. I love it.
Yeah, I think we'll sell a shed load of these. Alon, will you be buying?
Well, we had the discussion. I need to vote if it would be a hit for my personal collection, and the answer is no. If I need to analyze it, why, I don't know, because I think the color tones are interesting. I wouldn't have done the yellow GMT hand, but there is so much going on, and we talk about the Explorer 2 all the time, but don't you guys get a bit of a Black Bay vibe with the hour markers?
Yeah.
With the cubes.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit scared with all these coatings, right? Because it's DLC and Cera tone.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a daily beater, what I'm scared of, and I'm putting on my advisor hat, so the consultant to new collectors, that if for them everything up to 1,000 is a lot of money, and they have such high expectations of a watch, and imagine the first ding or the first scratch, how devastated they will be. All of us probably will like the fact that it gets this, I call it always the gunmetal scratching, on your mag lights and on gunmetal things and these coatings. I love the way they fade.
Yeah.
If that's not what you expect, you'll be disappointed. But it piqued my interest when I saw the article. I like the color tones, because what is it, Ripley, exactly? Is it sand or greenish? Taupe.
So it's like a dark matte gray DLC, but it almost has this kind of very gentle green undertone. And then the Cerakote that they use for both the dial, so like good luck scratching that dial, and the bezel, they call it like sand colored, but it's kind of like this greenish gray. It's not an exact match for the case and bracelet, but it almost works because the dial and bezel are this slightly different color than the case. And it works better than I thought when I first saw photos of it, but it's an interesting color to describe. It's like some lichen colored almost. It's like
so it's
green and
two-tone
gray.
basically.
It's like mud.
Yeah, a subtle two-tone.
I would maybe had not filled the 24-hour numbers in black. I would have maybe kept it tone sur tone, so tone on tonal, and maybe done the GMT hand a bit different. I would tone it down into a more military watch. But anyways, cool that they did it.
Yeah. Pete, you
I
sitting
went
on the
maybe.
fence?
Yeah, sitting on the fence. Everything that all the good things that people have said, I kind of agree with. It's good value for money. It's generally kind of handsome. I more agree with David here than Ripley. I think it does just enough to separate itself from the Explorer, just barely enough. But in the same way, Rick, that you didn't like five different fonts on the last watch, I look at this and I just see this is like a tactical clown. There's like 6 different colors involved here. No, just no. Not to mention, did they order the GMT hand? Did they order the wrong size and then have to cut it down? It's just, again, just no.
Originally due to be a 41mm watch, but
Yeah.
39.5 cases arrived, so it was out with the guillotine.
At the last minute, someone said, no, we're going, they've got to be smaller these days. That's the trend. But we've bought the hands.
Yeah, it's a completely valid point. The more you're speaking about it, the more I am seeing, and maybe it's just because I was looking at it for last week's show, the Moser tribute watch. This is like a tribute to 3 or 4 different watches within the Rolex group. Now that I look at it, but there we go. Right, classic hit miss maybe, and we're going to go to the most classic of classic watches. There are on the A Blog to Watch pages 37 pages that all relate to this, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. So imagine yourself, you're Gerald Genta's best buddy back in the day, and he brings to you the Royal Oak and he says, I'm about to release this, a steel integrated, probably didn't even have the word integrated, steel integrated bracelet sports watch for the same price as you would pay for gold. And you're sitting there and you're going, Gerald, I don't know if this is going to be a hit, or whether this is going to be a miss, or whether this is going to be a maybe, but I'm going to decide right now. So what would you gentlemen have thought if Gerald was presenting this to you back in the day? A hit, a miss, or a maybe? Maybe, hit. 3 hits, 2 maybes. Ooh, David, tell us why you would have been prescient enough to think this was going to be a hit back in the day.
I love good proportions. I think that's where it starts for a watch, and I thought that it had those. Sure, it was outlandish at the time, but it was well equipped to be a wearable and a nice looking watch. The original design, and then whatever came after that, we'll leave that discussion to another time.
We've already had that discussion this week when we looked at the code 1159, so go and check out that on the main podcast. Ripley, you were with me, you gave it a maybe. Are me and you just more honest than the rest of these guys in this room?
No, I think it would have been, I think the first time I saw Royal Oak, it wasn't love at first sight, and it took me a little bit of time to warm up to the design in general. There's certain things about it that just look unrefined, especially for the era, but now that's what makes it cool, But, I'm trying to put myself in, when I first got into watches, I liked the design of the Nautilus more than the Royal Oak. Now I'm bored by both of them, but, that's neither here nor there. But, I think if I honestly saw it, enough would have kind of tickled my fancy that I'd be very, very intrigued by it. And I would like aspects of it almost in an ineffable sense. But I think, again, back in the early 70s, if this is being presented to me for the first time, I think enough would have been just a little unfamiliar to the point where I'd want to marinate it. I told Gerald, I know we have to give you an answer tonight because you need to have it in or whatever, but I'll tell you how I feel about it tomorrow. And I need to sleep on it for a minute.
Yeah. So I'm with you because I remember how I felt when I first saw Royal Oak, which was, not convinced by this. Neither yes nor a no. But Alon, it was a yes for you. Instant hit.
So obviously easy to say now with such a hit, but I've been influenced deeply, deeply by my dad. He started off in the industry in 72, the year they launched the Royal Oak. My dad was always a huge fan of design, cutting edge. So I grew up, I'm from 79, so late 70s. Saw my dad always rocking all these crazy shapes. So I remember the Santoses on his hands. He had the first Breitling Chronomat in 83 with the bullet bracelet, the rouleau bracelet. He had all the Porsche designs when they came out. So he always taught me how ingenious the Royal Oak is, the Nautilus is, because they broke the mold. So I did love it, still love it. With my stupid head, early 2000s, I had a jumbo stainless steel with a Jejal Ultra caliber, sold it for less than 8,000 euros. So if you talk about if we do a hit, maybe or miss on your sold pieces, then I have a long list of regrets. So, but if we go back, guys, think about it. Everything was gold. And the assignment was for Patek Philippe and Audemars. They wanted to break the mold. They wanted to be innovative. 69, you have to remember all the amazing designs, of which the Carrera, right? Square watches chronograph. So they tried to innovate then. So was it shocking? Yeah, but they needed to innovate. So if I was on that board seat, I would have voted yes, because if you look at the design, it is well proportioned and new and well balanced, and we all know that probably of the first 50 something years now, 60 already, 50 plus, it hardly sold, right? It's only the last 10-15 years that's a real hit.
Pete?
I went hit, and I suppose my thinking is so. This is happening at about the same time that Ferrari is moving away from Pininfarina and going to Bottone and the folded paper designs. Maserati is getting ready for the Khamsons coming out. This was the thing at the time. We were moving away from the 60s sort of flowing lines, and we were moving into much harder angular rectilinear shapes. This was like, we think in the watch world that this was somehow breaking new ground. It was right down the middle of what was happening in design at the time, and Gerald Genta just captured it like lightning in a bottle and got it right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hit.
Great stuff. Right, well, that is us for Hit Miss maybe this week, and I've not warned them we're going to do that. I have not warned Ripley that we're going to do this, but because of the success of last week's Ripley's Random Thought, to conclude the show, Ripley, what's going on in your head right now?
Well, we had a blackout at my house this past week, and it broke my refrigerator. And so there, because it's been less than a year since I bought the thing, they have to send out a repairman to verify that it's broken on Friday before they can start the process of replacing my refrigerator. And as we're calling to, place the call to have them come out, they're like, if it's determined to be a warranty issue, I'm like, well, what would it be a user error issue? It's a refrigerator. There's literally, you open it, you close it, you grab the stuff. Well, we have to inspect it. So I'm currently thinking all of the different ways that I'm probably on Friday going to get told that I used my refrigerator wrong. And I am dying to hear some of them.
And do you think it would be a crossover in ways in which you can use a watch wrong? Like,
yeah, don't set the date
between.
Yeah, don't set the date between. Yeah. Your perpetual calendars. There's so many ways you can use a watch wrong, So, yeah.
I mean, Alan, you must have some stories of people using watches wrong.
Where should I start? We'll
save that for next week's show, and we look forward to finding out whether Ripley is out several $100 or $1,000. Not how much a refrigerator is in the States.
I've bought a mini fridge. I've bought a mini fridge to hold me over. We went to Home Depot, got a little mini fridge. No, we need refrigerator. I can't live like an animal for the week, so we got a little mini.
Is it full of beer?
Yes. As soon as the big fridge is back to operation, I have a dedicated beer fridge, and that's going to be a come up from.
I mean, in Scotland, if you want stuff kept cold, just leave it outside. It's fine. I'm just realizing. I'm just realizing this is an entirely Scottish thing, or like Northern European. Which is, as a student, when you lived in halls of residence, you didn't have a fridge in your room, so you just tied your milk to a string and hung it out the window, and that's where you kept your milk.
Rick,
outside,
would you
so you
leave
could
your
have a cup of tea.
babies? Would you leave your babies to nap outside as well, like the Scandinavians do?
Babies as in children, or babies as in my watches?
No, your children.
Would I leave the child outside? I mean, I don't know. It never really crossed my
Not in
mind.
Scotland.
No,
So-
I don't think so. I
so
think,
I
they
still
get,
have
I
young
think in
kids.
Scotland they get nicked.
So we have young kids.
Not for the
and I have
child, but
Scandinavian-
for the pram that they were in. They'd be stealing you'd come back out, the pram would be on bricks. The wheels of your Silver Cross would have been stolen. There you go. Anyway, here's a bit of a cultural insight, the difference between California and Scotland. Thank you all very much for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you all again next week. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. See you next week.